India seems very close, smooth, and hassle-free. I'm sorry that I did not see him properly, so I just forgot. This is my blunder. I request I would like to introduce Honorable Dr. Deepak Prakash Bhatta. Is he here now? Deepak sir? Yeah.
I'm here. I'm
yeah,
hearing
Deepak
you.
Sir,
I'm here.
Deepak sir, welcome.
Hello.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Deepak sir, you are welcome. Deepak Prakash Bhatta will present the main paper of today, on which all the commentators and all the participants are going to have a discussion about that. Mr. Bhatta is an expert on Nepal-India relations, foreign policy and diplomacy. He is currently the member of House of Representatives in Nepal. So I would like to continue my points now. If we look to the comprehensive history of the relations between the two countries, there is not only the brightening features, but problems as well may appear. The dispute on the 335 square kilometer of Kalapani-Lipulekh-Limpiadhura is the latest example of the toughness of the relationship between Nepal and India. Through the Treaty of Sugauli between the then British India and Nepal, it has been jointly considered Mechi and Kali, the border rivers of Nepal with India on the east and the west. But Indian Army and Indo-Tibetan border force occupying the land east to the Kali River, invading Nepali territory since after the Sino-Indian War in 1962. Since then, Nepal is objecting the issue through political and diplomatic channels. Time and again. Furthermore, there is still a recognized joint mechanism between the two parties, but tensions are mounting up instead of inclining. Since India used its new cartographic map in November 2019, mentioning the territory of Kalapani-Lipulekh and Limpiadhura within the Indian occupation, there were huge demonstrations in the streets of Kathmandu. Furthermore, when Indian Defense Minister inaugurated the uncompleted road from Darchula to Lipulekh, Nepal formally objected to India through the diplomatic channels. Let's look over quickly the chronology of the development of the recent crisis. On November 2, India issued new political map and Nepal objected. 8 May 2020, India Defense Minister inaugurated the 75 approximately kilometer long road unilaterally. 10 May 2020, Nepali Foreign Minister summoned the Indian envoy to the ministry and handed over the diplomatic note representing the protesting the incident. And 15 May, Indian Army Chief M. Narwade pointed out that Nepal is raising the issue at the behest of someone else, which got strong mass hesitation to Nepal. 15 May evening, on the same day, President of Nepal, Vidya Bhandari, demanded to release the new map, including the Nepali territory. 20 May, Minister Padma Aryal released the new political map and administrative map of Nepal, with those land adding 335 square kilometers to the world map. And 21st May, PM KP Sharma Oli committed to the parliament to get back Nepal's territory through diplomatic dialogue with India. And 22 May, MEA, Ministry of External Affairs of India, spokesperson Anurag Srivastava released a statement telling Nepal's act unacceptable and recalls Nepal to respect Indian sovereignty, etc. And 14 May, Nepal deploys armed police force APF at the Sangru near disputed land. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, after the map face off till now, there is no official or formal dialogue between two states, either in political or diplomatic levels. To some of the analysts, this situation is the situation of India's expansionist colonial thought. To some, this is the outcome of Nepali home politics. Many of them assume that this will lead to the strong geopolitical vibration in the peaceful Himalayan region. We might have many questions, many ideas and opinions to the spectrum of such tough issue. Putting the sentiments aside, we today are going to hold a very productive, scholarly and friendly discussions on the matter. Do Nepal and India have already raised the flashpoint over the Kalapani issue, or are we heading towards such situation? Is the special relationship of open border and free movement of the people between Nepal and India is in brink of dismissal now onwards? Is Kalapani-Lipulekh and Limpiadhura dispute between the two countries getting strategic departure on the foreign policy and diplomacy of the two countries? Is the dispute normal, or is this will change the history as it seems? What will be the cost and the effects of this dispute in the region? In this webinar organized by Nepal Institute of International Relations today, we are going to have a very scholarly debate following the incidents. We have prolific scholars and leaders here today to discuss on the matter. Now, after this quick overview on the issue, now I would like to request Secretary of General Secretary of the organizer, Nepal Institute of International Relations, Mr. Sunil Kumar Paudel, to deliver his quick welcome note. Please, the floor is yours, Mr. Sunil Paudel. Sunil sir?
Yes. And good afternoon to everybody. The chairperson, just Honorable MP and former Prime Minister Kaji Shrestha, paper presenter Honorable Dr. Prakash Bhatta, commentators Professor Huang, Yunsong, Dr. Krishna Kumar Shrestha, Dr. Nihar Nayak, Bahadur, the participants, media friends, gentle ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Nepal Institute of International Relations and myself as the General Secretary of the organization, I would like to utilize the opportunity to welcome you all in this August webinar. You have provided us a great pleasure and honor by your remarkable presence. The modern development in science and technology, followed by widespreading and streaming up of information technology, has brought about a drastic change in the knowledge and demand of the people in the world. This has created a situation of interdependence among the countries within the globe. In spite of being interdependency, every country's first priority and major attention fall upon the neighboring country. Naturally, the more geographically close or attached the countries are, the more discontents or hassles breed. But these things can easily be settled when both the countries consider each other's discontent or hassle, paying respect to integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference, and cooperation for mutual benefit and peaceful. These are the 5 strong pillars of Panchashil upon which, provided countries abide by, every country's development, glory, and happiness flourish. But the norms are not simply bound in print or to practice. The 5 pillars feel fertile. Relatively powerful country connected geographically with smaller and weak country might feel benefited by domination to the smaller one in the beginning, but it will also fall into many unsolvable problems in the long run. And world history has manifested such situation clearly. Besides, our reputation in the international arena shall diminish to the lowest level. The relationship between two bordering countries doesn't matter how long their friendship has been continuing. It only matters how much they trust each other, how much they feel secure with each other, how much they respect each other's sovereignty, how much they help each other in distress. Intervention in international affairs in any form, taking benefit out of others' trouble, igniting disturbance whenever situation emerges are not the identification of a friend. The present burning issue between Nepal and India is the latest encroachment of Limpiadhura, an authoritative territory of Nepal, constructing road from Dharchula, India to have access to Kailash Mansarovar, China. Despite having reliable and sufficient proof that the land belongs to Nepal, the Indian side, including high-level dignitaries in government job, politicians, and the Indian media, have been trying to fabricate Nepal's claim as false. Might is not always right. I hope the diplomatic discussion between these two countries will be successful to solve the problem in near future. The webinar has been organized to discuss on this issue and provide the government of Nepal for the measures to bring back our territory by peaceful means. I am confident that the opinion of scholars present here shall be very fruitful to our nation. Once again, welcoming you all, I would like to conclude. Thank you. Namaste.
Oh, thank you, Sunil sir, for your welcome notes. May I now let you know all about the frame of the program, I mean the modality of the program. Now on, there will be an inauguration speech by Mr. Narayan Kaji Shrestha, maybe for 15 to 20 minutes. Then after, Dr. Dipak Prakash Bhatta will present his paper for 25 minutes, and all the commentators, Shrestha, Dr. Nihar, Nayak, Dr. Huang, Yunsong, and Sher Bahadur, Gurung will present their views in 20 minutes separately. And that will be followed by question and answer session for 20 to 30 minutes. And then we will conclude this session. So now may I request you all please you all mute your microphones, please. And I request admin to mute all except the speaker. Admin.
I think that is better way.
Yeah.
All the the rest mics should be muted by technical person.
Yeah, please. Technical coordinator. Yeah. Mr. Bisal Paudel, he is a technical coordinator here right now. And please, I guess he has already done it. Done that. So now, may I now request Mr. Narayan Kaji, Honorable Mr. Narayan Kaji Shrestha Prakash, the member of Upper House and spokesperson of Nepal Communist Party, the ruling party of Nepal, you may all know that, to deliver his inaugural speech. Mr. Prakash.
Dear friends, first of all, I would like to thank this Nepal Institute of International Relations for organizing this webinar on the important contemporary issue. I hope that this type of interactions will help bring the evidences and facts on the surface, will help establish the truth and resolve the dispute and the issue on the basis of historical evidences and facts, and also strengthen the bilateral friendly relations between the two countries which do have historical, multifaceted, unique relationship. Friends, I don't want to go into detail on the border issues, its facts and figures. Paper presenter and other speakers, I hope, will dwell on the issue. I just want to point out that 5 small facts and proofs are enough to establish that the land, including Limpiadhura, Kalapani, and Lipulekh, are Nepal's sovereign territory, and it is occupied by India. Just 5 things I want to mention. One is the Sugauli Treaty of 1916, which clearly states that only the west part of Mahakali River is left to India. That clearly shows that Mahakali River and its east part is Nepal. The second thing is that not any ruler or the government of Nepal had signed any other treaty or agreement which handovers those territory to India. Third, the maps of the then British India and the letters of the British India Authority has very clearly shown that those territories, including Limpiadhura, Lipulekh, and Kalapani, including those localities as Kuti, Navi, and Gunji, are Nepal parts. Not only that, the map, political map issued by Government of India in the last November itself shows that Kali River is the mainstream and that is the real Mahakali. But after a week, India itself changed the map, other things remaining as it is, only the Kali name is deleted. That makes us very clear that the Kali River is the river which is clearly stated by Sugauli Treaty, and its eastern part is Nepal's territory. Fourth is that inhabitants and people of Navi, Kuti, and Gunji participated in the census of Nepal and also in the elections held by the Nepal government even after 1960s. So these are the clear facts. I don't want to go into detail. But these territory of Nepal has been enclosed and occupied by India, and its army, border police, and other security forces are stationed there in Nepal's land. And Nepal, therefore, has appealed and urged our Indian friend, India, to quit Nepal and hand over the territory to Nepal officially. So that is our humble request. I want to make clear one thing, that Nepal's view is very clear, and we believe that that is on the basis of historical facts and evidences. But we are also very open that if India has any such evidences and facts, then we are very open to listen to them. And we will avoid by those proofs if any is there in the record. So we are not prejudiced in our claim. We just want our land because it is our land on the basis of historical treaty, historical evidences, and historical facts. So let us sit on the table with the historical evidences and facts and resolve the issue sooner the better. That will strengthen our bilateral historical ties and friendly neighborly relationship. So we also want to emphasize that diplomatic dialogue is the only means to settle the issue. We have time and again appealed to India that let us sit on the table and discuss on it and finalize. We have agreed in principle that diplomatic dialogue will be held sooner, but in practice, it is not yet held. So I request that we all should be honest enough to sit on the table and resolve the issue through dialogue. So that is my second point. So when we see Nepal-India relationship in the historical perspective, we can very easily realize that it is not just a neighborly relationship. It is just not a diplomatic relationship. It has very multifaceted dimensions. It has its socio-cultural aspects. It has deep people-to-people relationship. So it is of very unique nature. So we internalize that Nepal-India relationship is multifaceted, unique relationship, and we give high importance to our friendly relationship with India. And we also want to strengthen our friendly relationship and elevate to the new height. We believe that our relationship can be turned as a very exemplary relationship in the whole world among the neighbors. So we should sit as early as possible on the table, resolve the issues on the historical basis of historical evidence and facts, strengthen our historical relationship, and take it to the new height. This is the necessity of the hour. I appeal all the friends to help, to assist, to aid in this light. And I want to make some points clear, or some things clear to the friends of India particularly, that we are very clear that there is no any other alternative to Nepal-India friendship, Nepal-India relationship. The only alternative is more better relationship, more stronger friendship between Nepal and India. That's very clear. Second thing is that there is the possibility of this possibility of making this relationship very exemplary one in the whole world, and we are very honest to take our relationship to that direction, to that stature, to give that stature. So there are some doubts or some sort of, I mean, suspicious talks in Indian media and some of the Indian friends that if whether Nepal is shifted to any other site, I want to make very clear on this point too. Nepal doesn't want to be under security umbrella of any country. The second, Nepal does not want to have a special political relationship with any country. Nepal wants to establish, maintain friendly relationship between the two countries on the basis of equal proximity. We don't want to play any card against any country. So these are our very clear idea and principled views of our foreign policy. So Nepalese people are never against India and Indian people. We are not and we cannot go against India. That is very clear. But when we stand for our national sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity, and national interest, no one should take it as against any country. It is our bounden duty, as it is yours, to stand for one's national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. So that is what we are doing. We are very much promised, committed, not to go against any other country, not to talk of our neighbors. So this is very clear. And we want to establish and better ties with both the neighbors. Not only that, we want to see better relationship between India and China, so that China, India, and Nepal will also have better relationship if China and India does have better relationship. So we are very clear on this point also. So that will help to create the conducive atmosphere of peace and stability and development in the South Asia and Asian region too. Of course, we do have some problems left over by history, mainly left by history. There are 4 kinds of problems that we are facing these days between Nepal and India. One is border issue as of Limpiadhura, Kalapani and Lipulekh, Shrestha, and border encroachment in many places. That should be resolved first. And that will make clear our path to the new height of our relationship. Second thing is that history has burdened with some of the honorable treaties. 1950 Treaty of Peace and Friendship is one of such treaty. We have to review it. We have already agreed to review it. And starting from its review, we think that we should sign another treaty on the basis of mutual sovereignty and equality to replace this 1950 treaty. Third thing is, India should not intend to show any interest in Nepal's micromanagement. These days, after the change, the political change, we are happy that there is not any such type of intervention in internal affairs, but we humbly request to change the outlook and attitude from within, that Nepal and Nepali people will be happier to see that India respects our national sovereignty and independence and does not even show any interest in the internal affairs of our country. Fourth is the area of economic interaction. Though we are very happy that India has helped in our economic development in many areas, we are thankful to the government and people of India for all these cooperations and help that India has rendered to us. But Nepal also feels sometimes that there are some time of tendencies shown on and off on many issues of economic interactions, that Nepal feels exploited. So these are the four areas of problems or the issues that are to be reviewed, settled. Then we'll start a new era. So keeping these things in view, in 2016, eminent person group EPG was found.
Sorry, sir, to interrupt you, but we are running out of the time. So please summarize your views within 2 minutes, please. We are running out of time. Thank you.
Hello. Anything? Any disturbances?
No. Please summarize your views within 2 minutes because we are just running out of time. Sorry.
So EPG also has prepared its report unanimously, but that report is not accepted till the moment. So I request Indian Prime Minister to receive the report and let us make it the agenda of both the countries, and we'll resolve on the basis of the recommendations by EPG in all gambits of our bilateral relationship. So I therefore want to draw the attention of all our friends that let us put 3 bases clearly before us for our better relationship. 1, let us accept sovereign equality. Second, mutual interest, mutual benefit and shared prosperity. Third, let us be ready to address the genuine concerns of any other country if it does not go against its national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national interest. In Nepal case, we are very ready, open to listen to the sensitivity of our Indian friends and ready to address the genuine concern, if any, without going against our national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. If we internalize these three fundamental basics of our friendly relationship to be strengthened, we will surely elevate our relationship to new height, and very clear that we can easily resolve these disputes which are on the table. So finally, dear friends, I want to draw only one thing to your attention. In Nepal and India, trust deficit and resolution of the disputes do have dialectical relationship. Because there is trust deficit, the problem is lingered. And because such problems are there, there is trust deficit. So trust should be built up, and these problems should be sorted out and resolved on the basis of historical facts, so that we can strengthen our very important historical, multifaceted friendly relationship. I hope that this sort of webinar will also help all of us to move towards this direction, contribute for this cause, and resolve the issue and strengthen our bilateral relationship. Thank you. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Prakash, for your robust idea on this webinar. Actually, Mr. Prakash has a very wide range of ideas on principle level, and both in principle and practical level. It would be better if we had time enough to listen to him, but unfortunately, we interrupted him because of the time schedule. So now on, I would like to request to present his paper to Dr. Dipak Prakash Bhatta. Now on, Dr. Dipak, the floor is yours now. Dr. Dipak
Thank you.
Bhatta.
Thank you, MC of the session, Yubaraj. Can you allow me to share my screen?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think it's, I need, because I'm facing a problem by technical person who is looking after that. I think so, because I have requested. The option has been disabled by the host.
Oh,
The option
Bisalji,
I found here. Yeah.
Bisalji, you please enable the screen sharing for the participants as well, please.
Yes, to make co-host to Dipak Bhatta, to the presenter.
Dipak sir, please try. Is it
Yeah,
working
yeah,
now?
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying. So probably it's still the option is there. So by the time I will start my.
We can see you, sir. You can continue. We can see you.
No, that's fine. But you can see me. But I need to share my presentation. So for that reason, I need to share my screen. So let the technical person share. Allow me to share the screen. By the time I will.
Yeah, it is disabled. Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
So the option
Deepak
is yeah.
right.
The option is still there. Yeah. So he need to allow me to share the screen. So by the time I will start my presentation. Thank you, team NIIR, Nepal Institute of International Relations, Dr. Rishi Adhikari, and all the team, Yubaraj and friends. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to Comrade Narayan Kaji Shrestha, our leader, senior leader former Deputy Prime Minister. And thanks to scholars from abroad and those who are participating in the webinar, and especially the friend from India and China, Dr. Huang and Dr. Nihar, and all distinguished panelists and those who are following through social media and different means. First of all, I would like to thank you and NIIR team. And the background has been already said by Yubaraj Chaulagain, and the issues and the major issues regarding the Nepal's independent territory and the encroached land area in the western northern part, Darsula district, and the Byas Nagarpalika, the Kuti, Nabi, and Gunji region, which is popularly known as the Limpiadhura, Lipulekh, and the Kalapani area of Darsula district, has been seen as a big issue in the recent times in the India-Nepal relations, and diplomatic relations of India and Nepal have come under a very hot discussion recently in both the sides, in the media, in social media, and in writings and everywhere. And still, I'm looking for that option to share my screen to make my presentation. So, Yubaraj, can you ask? Okay. Still the problem is there. So by the time, what I think,
Dr. Bhatta, please you continue, and there will be a solution. He's doing on that.
Okay.
I'm talking with him on chat.
Okay, the first thing first, I want to make regarding the border between any country, going back to the Westphalia, Treaty of Westphalia, the modern nation state debate starts from there, and we see that how and where the countries between 2 or 3 or more have settled the dispute or finalized the territorial or the boundary mechanisms. In many countries, it has remained a big issue for a long time, and there are many examples, but due to time constraint, I will focus on our Nepal-India relation, and slightly I will touch upon the Nepal-China relations, and I will not go any detail in the India-China relations or India-Bangladesh relations, which can be example for discussion in a bit long session sometime. And what I see that 1816, I don't need to go into much detail about the Sugoli Treaty and the followed documents related to that, and the very document, authentic document, the same year has been published by a person who was appointed for that particular reason, was a hydrologist, a hydrographer from the British Parliament, and he came to this particular region of British domain or the British India at that time, and had described that Kali River is coming from the Kuti, and from the hydrological perspective, hydrology has made it clear that the main branch of the river is the river. So for that reason, we can see that in Lipulekh, the river or the small river coming from the Lipulekh is 10 times smaller than the river coming from the Kutiyangi, or the place, the original place of the Kuti is the last village where we simply call it the Kutiyangi in Byasi language, Soka language, people call it the Kutiyangi, and Kuti is the last village in that part. And I don't need to say anything in detail about what already mentioned by our leader, Dr. Narayan Kaji Shrestha, Prakash. What he mentioned is like in 1961, the national census, the records are there, and a person who was the journal in charge of the census is alive, Bhairav Risal. He is speaking in the different forums, and his team, the members from district offices are there, and the surveyor is, I don't know, is he alive or not, but the record is there. And
Dr.
similarly,
Dr.
yes?
Bhatta, yeah, this is working now. You can share your slides.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, just give me a few seconds. No, but it shows me Matrika portal's screen. So still, I think I need to wait for a few seconds. Can Matrika portal
Matrika
go for
stop
the
sharing.
office screen?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Hopefully, I will get chance now.
That's it.
Still, I found it that Matrika is sharing his screen. He has not allowed me.
Yeah, if it's difficult there, would I share for you?
Yeah, you have my
Yubaraj?
presentation, so you can share that, because it seems that still you are sharing your screen, so I couldn't share my screen.
Yeah, he also can share because we all have.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Thank you,
okay,
sir.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please,
yeah.
Matrika.
We can hold for a few seconds. Otherwise, by the time I will keep making my points, and in that sense, the Binti Tal, the name of the lake is a Binti Tal, which is in the area called the place called the Jolingkang. It is not from the Kuti. Kuti means Kali, is the black. Yangti means river in the Bashi language. For that reason, people call it the Kuti Yangti in the Bashi language, or the Soka language, or the Rung language. People also denote them as a Rung people, the Bashi people. And above from the Kuti village, there is a place called the Jolingkang, and there is a Tal. We call it Tal in Hindi and Nepali in many languages. The lake is Binti Tal. So the river originates from the Binti Tal, Jolingkang area, and the nearest village is the Kuti. So it is known as the Kuti River. So there are documents, and it is not only the 1816 map. Soon after that, there are many maps during British India has been published. I can say that 1816, 1820, 1819, 1826, 1827, 30, 34, 35, 37, 41, 46, 50, and 56, and then 1867. So this is the series of the map published during the British India. And then 1865, yes, there was another agreement was made regarding the Naya Muluk, Baki, Bardia, Kailali, and Kanchanpur. It is after the Sipai mutiny in India and the support given by the Nepal's rulers, the Rana regime at the time. Janga Bahadur himself has led the Nepalese forces, Nepal army, to Lucknow and many areas of the United Province of that part. So after that, after curbing the rebellions, he got a chance to talk with the Viceroy, and then this part was returned to. And again, without going into that much detail in that part, what I think is like, so these are the things. And if you look at the fixed boundary principle, there are theories, there are hydrological, like scientific methods to finalize where the river is, and the fixed boundary principles are there. And for long period, Nepal-India has been, since 1981, the joint committee or the joint border management mechanism has been enacted. It has worked for about 3 decades, and since 1997, it has gone into the next stage, that they said that major disputes or the major delineation of the boundary between Nepal and India has been finalized with the strip maps. More than 80 maps they have signed by the authorities related to the authority given to the sign on the strip maps, Director General of the Survey Department of Nepal and the Surveyor General of the India. So at that level, they have finalized that, and that is already clear. But even after that, there is a problem in many areas or parts of the India-Nepal border, that we can see that Govinda Gautam in Kanchanpur in the Punarbas area has been killed by the Indian security forces. This is the recent example, and still recently people in that part were demonstrating and have vandalized a reference pillar. So these kind of things have been happening in the many parts of it. That is because that people have been using that particular land on the Nepal side. It may be the case that on the India side that people are using the land on the Indian side. So this is one example, and that for many reasons, these kind of border settlements or the border disputes have been settled through the dialogues, and that the recent example is between India and Bangladesh already. So without going into much details on that part also, what I see that in Nepalese context, this issue has remained a very strong. It is not only because of the sentiment, or it's only not only because of that India supported our democratic movements of many other kind of like relations we have, all these kind of, as we keep talking about the marital relations in the borders. It is not only at the borders, it's everywhere, and it's because of civilizational notion, and it's more religious also, and so because of that, and when we talk about the modern nation states, sharing borders is opportunity, and we can develop proper border management mechanism in the modern times with new technologies, and wherever there is a dispute that we can negotiate and resolve through the dialogues is the best opinion, best idea. So while talking regarding that particular river and the origin, I personally have faced
sorry for intervention. Sorry for intervention, Dr. Bhatta. Madrikaji, are you doing that to share the screen?
If Dipak, do you allow me to share?
Yeah. Why not?
Yes, you already allowed you to.
Okay, fine. So here we go. Yeah. Which slide you are?
Can you go to the third slide?
Okay. Is that
from
here? The Treaty of Friendship?
Yeah. Again, I mean, this is one example because I come from that part, Kanchanpur district, and the bordering is the Chanakpur and the Sharda Barrage. The constituency I represent is the same in that place, and we can see that, if you see that 1923 is the Treaty of Friendship between Nepal and India during the Rana regime and during the British era. So there was a land given to India. It's mentioned in the letter of exchange clearly that 4,093.88 acre. So till the date, Nepal doesn't have that land where the return land has been given, for example. So this is how we see the Nepal-India relations when we talk about in terms of land or the exchange of the land. And Chanakpur Treaty, it was said that it is not treaty by the then Prime Minister, but it was a big debate in Nepal's politics. Again, without going into details, that later when Mahakali, the integrated Mahakali Development Treaty has been signed in 1996, in that the things were mentioned: integrated development of the Sharda Barrage, Chanakpur Barrage, and the Pancheshwar project. And we can see that what is happening with the Pancheshwar project, because to some extent, equal rights has been mentioned in that particular treaty regarding the Pancheshwar project. That we can see that in last 24 years, nothing means no such progress we can see in this project. So this is one example in India-Nepal relations when we see that how the tensions and the distortions are there. Otherwise, like movement of the people is free, the border is open and porous, people can come and go every day from anywhere, and that we can see during the COVID-19, today's this pandemic situation also, and the problems from mostly a big number of Nepalese migrants are coming from Indian side. So can you go to the third slide, Mantrika? So the boundary issues and disputes and the problem, as I'm already mentioned that, the Joint Boundary Committee was raised in 1981. It worked till 2007. 182 strips were already finalized, and this is the points I mentioned earlier. And most of the areas have been finalized, but sometimes I've heard that Nepalese former prime minister, those who have visited India during their state visit, during their visits, Indian side has requested that 98% of the Nepal-India border settlement has been finalized. So let's sign the step map at our level, I mean Prime Minister's level, so we can resolve the rest issues in due course. But they refuted. They have publicly spoken all these things. So I can give you the reference that in some seminars or some programs, they have already mentioned all these things. So the issue is still there. And it is not only raised only after 1990 or the Tanakpur issue came into the surface, or the parliamentarian Prem Singh Dhami raised this issue during mid-90s or the early 90s in Kathmandu. During Panchayat era, the representative from Darchula district was the Bahadur Singh Aitwal, who is from the same community, Byasi, or the settler of the Changru village, where recently we have Nepal has developed a BOP, new BOP. So he belonged to that community, Byasi Shoka community, and he was minister, assistant minister in the Nagendra Prasad Rizal's cabinet from 1973 to 75 during his first prime ministership. And he has raised that issue and given memorandum to the prime minister, given memorandum to the chief minister of the UP, the Uttar Pradesh, the province, undivided province at that time. Later, the Uttarakhand province has been created. And the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh was Hemati Nandan Bahuguna, and he has given memorandum to the commissioner of the Kumaon. And because of that, and he was not allowed to travel from the Pithoragarh district of that side, because he keeps traveling. And then he pursued to make a trekking route up to the Changru. So it is during 1970s. So we can see that Indian forces, when after 1962 into Sino-India war, that has been kept in that place. So the representatives of the locals have been raising these issues. And we can see, as I mentioned earlier, the documents are there, and the census and land-related documents are there. So this part are time and again raised from Nepal side, but it's India that who has already occupied mindset that wherever they are sitting means theirs, which is completely false reason, false argument, that they have been using this for Mansarovar purpose, or they have been using this for the trade purpose. And this is only the recent phenomenon, because that doesn't mean that if any particular piece of land is not in, like under the command or the administrative or the political command of Nepal or any country, that is related to, that belongs to another country or the India. So we have to sit and discuss about that clearly we can see Nepal has not raised or demanded the Gori river in Balwakot, that is Gori is the boundary river. And Nepal has not talked about the Taholi river, which is coming and joining the Kali river in the Tawagat. So, and why India has not set the Chamelia, the another river branch of Mahakali, which is coming from Marma range, that this is a border river. So we can easily, with the naked eye, can see that 10 times bigger river is coming from Limpiadhura at the point where the Lipulekh is, the river coming from. So, so coming to our, can you go to the next slide? Again, these are the basic points I have made earlier. So jump to the next one. Basically, I have said about the delineation, demarcation, and the hydrology. Maps also I have already mentioned about. So can you jump to the next one? So coming, now, Mansarovar Yatra, India opened from that region is 1981, the very recent phenomena. And I said that in 1973, representative from that place, Bahadur Singh Aitwal, was an assistant minister, and he has raised this issue. So sometimes we see that India keeps saying that or put forward their argument that this place had been used, the territory of the region has been used by Indian forces or the Indian citizens, all these things. And the Kutinabi and Gunji, all these, the people, those who have been having Indian ration card or Aadhaar card, is the recent phenomenon. So it's only the 20, 30 years, 40 years. It's because that Nepal or the Nepalese administrative people or the people from Nepal are debarred to enter that area. And that I have faced that particular incident when I was leading a march from Kanchanpur's Kutia cover to the Kalapani, that particular region. It was mentioned earlier also. So, so we can see that. And can you jump to the next one? Because time constraint is there. So I'm not going into detail in particular things. And again, these all things are mentioned by Narayan Kaji Shrestha, our leader. Census report, general election, 1959 they have voted, 1969 in the local elections, Gaon Panchayat, they have voted, and the zonal officer, Bharat and all these things are the history. And 1921, government of Nepal decided to publish a new map at that time. And this is new. And at that time when Nepal tried to publish, most of the cases, all these maps are published in India because Nepal doesn't have this press, the technology. So it seems that, you know, while publishing from there, some administrative weaknesses and these kind of things are there. So can you jump to the next slide? And whenever it comes to the strategic or the geostrategic importance or the geo-economic importance of that particular region, we can see that is the shortest route from Delhi or the India's any part to that Tibet, especially from Delhi. And that we can see and hear the speech of the defense minister when he was inaugurating the road in the Nepali land. And in 2015, May 15, when His Excellency, Prime Minister of India was visiting China and the President of China, they issued a joint statement. A point was made that the Lipu Lake or the Lipu La or the Kingla in Chinese language was made a trade route, and it is not only for the access of for the trade, but for the pilgrimages. So that is the best route. So for that reason, we have to ask and validly ask to Chinese officials, so the government of China and their survey departments, that this is Nepal's territory. So our argument is there, and protest letter has been given by the then Prime Minister Sushil Koirala to the both of the Prime Minister or the both of the governments. So our conditions we have put forwarded, and we have put forwarded that eminent person's report, which was again agreed forum to discuss the bilateral issues in terms of security, in terms of border, in terms of cultural, trade, and all dimensions. And the report is ready, and since 2.5 years, Indian Prime Minister doesn't have a time to accept the report. So we can see the attitude of the Indian hegemonic mindset towards the Nepal, and that we have seen it during the post-earthquake era when the blockade was imposed. So a friendly relation between two independent sovereign nations, those all sovereign nations have equal status in terms of sovereignty and territorial integrity, we should discuss, and they must produce their facts and the things that they have are hydrological opinions, geographers, and the people, those who are settling the boundary issues for a long time. So I think issue can be settled through dialogue. There is no other means to talk about. And in that kind of situation, when we hear the Chief of the Army Staff is talking about that this is a provocation of the third party, when Nepal is talking about its land. And that's why the mindset in Delhi or in the Indian media or in the Indian politicians and sometimes scholars, those who have to be, very genuinely see that the river branch coming from Lipu and Limpiadhura. And I heard few Indian researchers and journalists who has made very valid points that Lipu Lake is not the border area. Even Lipu Lake, the river coming from the Lipu Lake is not mentioned as a border river now. What happened? If you go to the that particular point, we can see that a small watershed is coming from eastern part of the Mallokawa, the area which is known as the Kalapani, is said and declared as the origin of the Kali River, which is a very pathetic situation. where they stop the people, those who have massed up to that area. Those who, I mean, they may be journalists, they may be politicians, they may be activists or whoever. And during our visit, when we were reaching or approaching that point towards the Gunji, Indian security forces have put on the gun points, so that can be seen that they are debarring entering to the Nepalese territory. So that is the situation there. So it is not that we are seeking the military solution of this kind of this settlement. So where I see that these kind of statements will provoke Nepalese sentiment, and this will not help Indian and the Indian society also to resolve a friendly relation. A solution is there that can be solved. And in the next stage, let's activate boundary working group. Let's activate upper level mechanism between the secretaries of both the countries, and then up to the ministry level, Minister of External Affairs and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and then at the highest level. So these are the mechanisms that we can discuss and go ahead. So can you put the latest the map on? So you can see that, you know, like Kalapani-Lipulekh pass is there, and there is a area. You can see that the river is coming from the Lipulekh Pass, and the Lipulekh Pass is seen in the dots there, which is directly coming to the Gunji. And after that, you can see that another dotted line is made at that place. So this is the point number 5. So you can see that Gunji is there. The Gunji is village, and Nabi is another village. Kuti is another village, as I mentioned earlier. Kuti is the last pen, and Limpiadhura is the point where the Binti Talis and the Jolingkang is the area called the Limpiadhura nearby. So the river is coming from there, and when it comes to the disputed land from Gunji, the river Lipu River is coming, and Lipu River is coming from the point. The point is not mentioned, but we just can see that where the Lipulekh is mentioned. The word Lipulekh is written. So the point Lipulekh is written is the root of the Lipulekh River. But if you see that point 5 and 4, and this particular area is the further encouragement of the Nepali land, because the river is coming from the Lipulekh point. So this another part, another encouragement is the further encouragement. So whole this area, 335 square kilometer land belongs to Nepal, and we should open the boundary issue, dispute, resolve it, one. And the second, accept the eminent persons group and then discuss on it to make our peace and friendship relation better in modern era, in 21st century, while we are also democratized society. We are practicing democracy. India, for the 70 experience being a republic, being a large exercising democracy. So our relation, our foreign policy and foreign policy components should be transparent in terms of democratic behavior and the mindset. I mean, the colonial era or should not remain the feudalistic mindset we see in Nepal and we see in India. So from the both sides, we need open our minds and sit down to resolve the issue. So I think I will stop here, and I will welcome comments and of course the queries, panelists and the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatta, your prompt and robust analysis on the issue. Actually, I was about to ask you several questions, but due to the running out of time, I cannot do that, and maybe many of our participants tries many. So I request all the participants to be connected till the last. And now on, I request to all the participants just to wrap up their ideas within 12 minutes. We are very sorry for that, because we are still, trying to that's the technical. We are according to our assessment about the time. So Let me
Okay, can Sunil Paudel
call upon.
off to share his screen? Still, you are showing that Sunil Paudel's screen.
Oh, please.
Yes, I have done that.
On the screen.
Still Sunil Paudel's screen.
So, all right. You will do
Just
that.
stop sharing.
Yes, it has been shared by me.
Now, I will request to deliver his speech on the time of 2 minutes. I will interfere after 10 minutes, and you have to wrap up in 11 minutes. Gurung, geographer from Cuban University, will present his ideas now. I am especially to focus on the view of geography, please. Sher Bahadur Gurung. Sher Bahadur sir, are you listening to me? Sher Bahadur Gurung.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please continue.
Yeah, today to share my some exercises on this boundary issue, northwestern boundary issue of Indo-Nepal. And I try to present the way forward after this this issue. So we know that there is a boundary dispute or some misunderstanding in several parts of this boundary. Well, initially, the Shrestha area and this Lipiadhura and Kali area is recognized as disputed or misunderstanding area by both countries, India and Nepal. And based on that, there is several studies have done to demarcate this source of Kali based on map and documents. Now I am present the demarcation of to find out the source of Kali based on some
Gurung sir, are you having some technical
based on
problem?
the science of treaty, and the issue is raised when on 2nd November, India published a map with Kali River and the name of Kali. After a few weeks, or after 7 weeks, the name is
Gurung sir, I think you are having technical problem. Maybe with your microphone.
Attention on this. Yeah.
No, not actually.
What happened?
Oh, please continue now.
Okay.
Now it's okay.
And based on DEM, digital elevation model, I generate the river of Kali, and I find out the source of Kali based on I generate and I find out the upstream of this Kali river and downstream. Based on this, the darker is the downstream and this light color is the upstream. So this is a kuti, and near the upward of this kuti is a source of Kali. And similarly, I analyzed stellar model and find out the different order of the river. Based of the model, the number of tributaries is known as source river. And here you can see Kali have 161 tributaries. So this watershed is the source of the Kali river. And similarly, the larger the area, that is the source of Kali river. And same, you can see here, in Kali catchment there is 779, and this Lipu watershed have only 253, and Tinker have 457 square kilometer. And another example, and when we generate river, then I verified on Google Earth, and we find out that the river is generated from this glacier. And another event is that based on this plate tectonic movement and relative relief, there is a before the evaluation of Himalaya, there is a Tethys. The movement of plate, this Indian plate and Indian plate collide on this Eurasian plate, and the Himalaya is uplifted. You can see here, this is a Himalayan range. This lesser Himalaya uplifted about 65 million ago, and the very young Himalaya Chure just upliftment before 25 million ago. And you can see here, this is the Limpiadhura area, and this is Lipulekh, and this is Tinker. And India claimed that this Tinker near the Tinker is the source of Kali. But we can see here the highest the relative relief, that is the source of the Kali river. So in this way, this Limpiadhura region is the source of Kali river. And based on that, we prepare we find out that this is the real boundary of northwestern boundary of Indo-Nepal. After that, we published this map by Save the Border campaign, and we shared this map with our government and concerned people. And after that, government released, and government also published the map. And based on their own resources, they published this map. And now I am sharing some sketch about what is the way forward. I think based on some studies on historical issue, we should address this issue for historical issues. For example, previous presenter also mentioned that there is a different events, and I analyzed that events based on our relationship, and I analyzed that event, our historical event, and some events are very make our relationship weak, and some events make
Gurung sir, your sound quality is very low. Please make sure that you are near to your microphone.
relationship strong. And for example, in Sugovi, in the case of Volca earthquake, and this is an example of very good relationship. Then I made one this relationship line I draw. Look at here, and this line, you can see this line. This line is a very sensitive, or this is a threshold here. So I just make one sketch that if our relationship is weak, then this line goes here, and if our relationship is good, then this line is come up here. And if we see this line, there's lots of up and down, and up and down. Now it's for way forward, it's time to make our relationship. We need to push this line to this side. For that, we need to concern, or we make our consensus between India and Nepal about security issues. We know that there is a security sensitive issues with India and Nepal, and India itself, their own security, and we have our own security. And in this case, we should come to some consensus about the security issue, and based on that, we can make good relationship, and our relationship will be positive. Similarly, this is water resources, utilizations and benefit share, and environmental issue. And there is being a mountains country, there is a upstream and downstream relationship and ecosystem chain. Based on that, and sharing resource benefits, and we should make a concession about this water resources and environmental issues. And another is another issue in sociocultural.
Gurung sir, we have reached to the limit. Now you have
now, and this is one is trade and transit.
In several, only 2 minutes, sir.
Based on this trade and transit, we lost like we lost our the Indian won the monopoly on arms sales based on in the sake of this trade and transit, and we need to make concession of this trade and transit, and also we should be negotiation about international. We should common view about international and regional cooperation and regional forum. We should make a same voice, or we need to understand Indian sentiment or Indian view, and based on that, we can make our relationship positive if we make a concession and make a very good dialogue between India and Nepal. I think based on this, if we address these issues, then we can make our relationship positive. I think so. And thank you very much, NIIR, for inviting me to present my views. And thank you, my institution, for supporting me to prepare this presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Raja. If any query or question, please.
All right. Yeah, we'll come back again, sir, with you. Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. Actually, I guess we could not manage very well because of the technical issues. Your voice was not so clear during the presentation. Anyway, thank you so much. Now we will move forward very quickly. And now I will call upon to Dr. Nihar Nayak from, he is right from New Delhi. He is a very prominent scholar from India. Actually, he has visited Nepal, I guess, for several times. So Dr. Nihar Nayak, are you there? Yeah, please.
Yes,
Dr.
yes,
Nihar
Yubaraj.
Nayak, the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you, Yubaraj. My sincere thanks to the Nepal Institute of International Relations for the invitation. My special thanks to Dr. Risiraj Adhikari, head of the organization, and Yubaraj, to you especially. And my, again, hearty congratulations to the initial speakers, former Foreign Minister of Nepal, senior NCP leader and member of Parliament, Sri Narayan Kaji Shrestha, for making a very insightful remarks, opening remarks, particularly covering all the gamuts of India-Nepal relations, and some of his basically suggestions are really constructive. He made a lot of issues, particularly how to move forward this relationship. I'm really happy to know about his view and hear his today about his points. And again, my special thanks to Dr. Dipak Bhatta for his presentation, for his comprehensive presentation. He covered from history to the current situation between Nepal and India. So it's very, really quite useful and beneficial exercise for me also to know about the Nepalese point of view about this. I'll not go into basically what Prakash ji, Dipak ji has made his presentation. I'll just little bit some important points I'll touch here because time is limited. I'll start with one question here. We know the background is already there. Narayan ji and Dipak ji, they have made it very clearly. You all are aware of, you have been reading frequently all these media reports and print media and other social media about this issue for last 20 days. But here question comes, are we serious to resolve this issue? There are many questions are raised against India, against India's army chief statement about discussion in Indian media. So I have also heard Prime Minister of Nepal's statement in Parliament also. I have heard other leaders' speech also. I'm following the social media also. Which will see the atmosphere is very not in favor of basically to move forward or resolving the way we have been making remarks, the provocating remarks, kind of something is very sad to know about that. Basically inflammatory remarks. I don't see any kind of situation here to basically hold a dialogue at this moment. I can say one thing that I am from very beginning. I have been taking a position that let's have a foreign secretary meeting because both the government in principle agreed in July 2014 to have a foreign secretary meeting to resolve these two disputed territories, particularly Kalapani and Shrestha, because the rest of the border issues were left to the border working group. So when Dipak ji said that reactivate border working group, when he in his concluded remarks presentation, I think the border working group is still working. It's not like that the border working group has been stopped or not working. It didn't work because frequent transfer of the staffs, funds problem, and non-cooperation of revenue officers on the ground level. But still the border working is working. Term has been extended till 2022. So the process is still there, mechanism is still there. What I'm trying to say here, there are a couple of issues I want to know here, that particularly this is the origin of the river. It has been discussed by Dipak ji, Mr. Sher Bahadur, Gurung ji has also given us a very digital data about that. There is no dispute about that. There is ambiguity in the origin of the river. It's there. And this air, because some of the initial remarks and the speakers, some of the word I have found that India is invading, India is encroached, India is occupied. Some of these words, I think, will affect our dialogue process. Because certainly India, all those land with India is certainly not occupied by India or encroached by India. This has been historically done. It has been done during British India, and India inherited that land. Post 1947, India didn't encroach any land. All those lands were there before 1947. India simply just inherited that land. So India didn't invade. You can say that it's a British India did that. If British India did that, government of India can't answer to that. Because why I'm saying there is ambiguity. Let's have discussion. Present your evidences, whatever you have, whether revenue evidence, whether geographical evidence, historical evidence, whatever agreements, produce that and discuss on that. No need of going like making provocative remarks. Second is that view of the India is hegemonic. These are the word is not actually helpful to basically move forward. The second point I'm trying to say here, the British India issued 7 maps. It will divide the entire 100 years of entire map issuing period from 18 to 16 to 1856. All those maps issued by British India was certainly favoring to Nepal, definitely. If you see the post 1856, like 1879 to 1931 maps, obviously certainly favoring the current India. So there are ambiguity. So no doubt in that. Let's sit down and discuss on that. And second part of my point here, I'm coming to here, that this Kalapani issue. There I have been following Nepal media very closely. This border negotiation issue and why government of India has been talking about it has been being done because of the third countries we have or something like that. There is a pattern here also. There's a pattern here is that since 1981, the day the Joint Technical Committee was formed, 1981, and in 2002 when former Prime Minister Sher took a Delhi visit, during that joint statement it feels that is available in public domain that both the Prime Minister found that the technical committee finds difficulties with 2 disputed areas, that is Kalapani and Shrestha. So then both the Prime Ministers directed the technical committee to basically resolve the rest of the borders and leave these 2 disputed areas which will be resolved later on. I think since 1981, what I'm trying to say here, since 1981 till 2015 May, every government agreements or discussion, Nepal and India have identified only 2 disputed territories, only Kalapani and Shrestha. In 2007, when Nepal government's Human Rights and International Affairs Committee, they themselves identified that, look, we are not going to accept this trip map because Kalapani and Shrestha are disputed territory. So they directed the government of Nepal to resolve this issue, having dialogue with the government of India. Again, in 2000, July 14 also, when this joint commission was revived and both the joint foreign ministers and then later for the Prime Minister also directed to resolve this Kalapani and Shrestha. There are no mention of Limpiadhura and Lipulekh in the government agreement papers. In 2015, obviously, when there is a agreement happening between China and India, the government of Nepal said that, look, Lipulekh is a tri-junction area and both India and China shouldn't have entered into agreement without consent or consulting government of Nepal. That is the only time where government of Nepal has mentioned that Lipulekh is a disputed territory. Again in 2019 November, on November 7, where the Minister of Foreign Affairs issued a press statement which is released in Nepali. Again it said that only Kalapani. No mention of Limpiadhura and Lipulekh again in November 7, 2019. And here question comes, in November 2nd map or November what is revised map issued by government of November 7, both if you see the map, technically if you go by the Nepalese narrative, both Limpiadhura, Lipulekh, Kalapani already in the map. The question comes where the many government of India officials, policymakers and strategic thinkers are questioning here. Why didn't Nepal issue a map in November 2019? Because all those areas already in the map. Why this time? So that is where the suspicion is coming. Because all those territories, all the disputes already in the map in November 2007. So that is a problem here, that why suddenly it has been cleared out. Certainly the clearing up is happening obviously is because there are certain amount of politics or some of the internal politics is influencing the issue, and certain political leaders in Nepal who have been basically some problem in their internal politics. They have been using this issue for basically consolidation and for our own security in Nepal. This is actually the government of India's basically perception so far on this issue. So I believe that I'm not going to discuss further on this. My point here is that the Kalapani and Shrestha has been always official level has been agreed discussion. And suddenly when this 2020, the Limpiadhura, Lipulekh and Kalapani was clubbed together and brought into discussion. So government of India was a bit concerned and worried, and they were surprised also how did this happen. That's the one thing I would say. I'll just conclude by saying that, look, these treaty, it will see the Mahakali Treaty 1996, Dr. Bhatta mentioned about that. In the Mahakali Treaty, which signed in 1996 also, it will see the title and the second paragraph of the treaty. It says that the recognizing that the Kalapani River, not Kali, it says the Mahakali River, is a boundary river on major stretches between the two countries. In 1961, your border agreement with China and Nepal also, your pillar number 1 from the China side starts in the Tinker Pass, not Lipulekh. So there are many places where Nepal government has been, I believe that here is contradicting its position. That's as I go by the documents. Historical documents, I am not touching anything. I am talking about the post-historical documents, particularly 1951, 50 onwards. Again, in 1950 treaty, if you'll see the clause number 8. Clause number 8 itself, it says that, look, they cancel both the government, they cancel the previous treaties. So there are a lot of technical issues are here, a lot of problem here in a bilateral relationship. And I think only the dialogue is the only way forward. I don't see any other way. So I request everybody to basically not to unnecessarily make basically escalatory or provocative statement that India is occupying, India is encroached, India is invading. That is not the correct assessments. Let's have a friendly atmosphere and have a dialogue and resolve this issue. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Nihar, for your timely presentation. Definitely, many participants want to raise some questions, and maybe we will get back to you. Now, thanking you, I will go to request to deliver his ideas to Professor Dr. Huang Yunsong. Is it a correct pronunciation, Dr. Huang?
Yes, exactly.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the host of the webinar, NIIR, especially Yubaraj, for inviting me. It is my great honor to join this prestigious co-panelist to comment on the Kalapani dispute. I speak on this topic only in my own capacity as a scholar, and my views expressed here do not reflect that of my institution or that of my government. So I greatly appreciate the extensive research work accomplished by Dr. Dipak, Mr. Gurung, and other colleagues. To a large degree, your work has enabled us to make certain of the historical facts and evidence so that we don't have to invest more time in repeating the basics. I've seen some evidence that supports Nepalese case. I am also sure that there is evidence favorable to India's claim as well. But the crux of the question is how to interpret the facts and evidence in good faith and apply them to sort out a mutually acceptable solution, which is overdue. Concerning the facts and evidence, I would like to point out several points. And firstly, India insists that Nepal accepted the 2 cartographic changes the British made to the origin of Kali River in 1857 and 1879. These accounts, I think the burden of proof lies mostly with India. Yeah, I have seen, so far I haven't seen any direct evidence presented by India that can prove Nepal's acceptance. Professor Modi of JNU, he once suggested that Rana sign a map depicting the border alignment as a result of the changes, but whereabouts of that map and its authenticity is yet to be verified. On the contrary, there is counter evidence that indicates non-acquiescence or non-acceptance on part of Nepal, considering Nepal has for numerous times protested against India's occupation of Kalapani. And secondly, since the Treaty of Sugauli, too many things have happened. That's true. The British expansion across Himalaya left behind some controversial colonial legacies, and one of which led to the dispute of Kalapani-Lipulekh-Limpiadhura and Lipulekh. Given Nepal and India could not reach a new consensus on the status quo, and the binding force of those changes cannot be proven, so it becomes necessary for both parties to to look back and attach greater importance to the Treaty of Sugauli. Any suggestion to the country to invalidate that treaty will be unacceptable. Thirdly, in deciding the origin of Kalapani River, the maps made by Survey of India between 1819 and 1856 should be taken in a very serious way. It is true the maps at later stage might be more accurate in geographic sense due to improvement probably of surveying techniques, but any cartographic change could be a major departure from the very beginning, the binding treaty. The legal effect of those maps after 1856, I believe, become more and more questionable. It is inappropriate to simply dismiss those maps as inaccurate. I assume that many international jurists would agree to the primary evidentiary weight of the map of the province of Kumar in 1819. This map was commissioned right after the signing of the Treaty of Sugauli. One of its purposes was surely to ascertain the origin of Kali River and the alignment of the border. So this particular map strongly supports Nepal's claim. That's my sense. And fourthly, also well-grounded clarification on watershed principle is necessary, because it was an apparent deviation from the treaty and resulted in a changed border alignment, leading to tinkerpass. As a matter of fact, according to the Treaty of Sugauli and the relevant documentations thereafter, including the Mahakali Treaty of 1996, the watershed principle was never mentioned. So I would also like to cover, something about the China factor, because some Indian scholars keep bringing up this China factor when discussing this Kalapani dispute. Do we have a China factor here? No, I don't think so. In China, not many people know about Kalapani dispute, since the media coverage on it on this is very little. And for people aware of this issue, it is likely that most will feel favorably to Nepalese due to some of the outstanding territorial disputes between China and India being very similar to that of Kalapani. Some Chinese people could project China and Nepal in the same shoes. And contrary to the speculation by some Indian colleagues that there is some kind of campaign going on in China that supports Nepal's claim on this matter. But as a matter of fact, there's no such a campaign at all. And we're also quite unsatisfied with one Indian high-ranking official implied that Nepal's recent efforts to protect its sovereign rights was on behest of China. I'm not surprised by his remarks and mindset at all. Some old school fellows are just unable to introspect and identify the mistakes they made in dealing with the neighborhood. However, his statement is indeed derogative and insulting, not only to Nepal, but also to China. Nepal is an independent sovereign state with an international personality no less than that of China and India. The time when Nepal being treated as an inferior protectorate is long gone. And China regards Nepal as a neighbor and partner on equal footing. We would never underestimate the wisdom, determination, and ability of this great Himalayan state to safeguard its own interests. And I would also like to cover something about our position, China's position. I know China's government has maintained a strict neutrality on this issue. Unfortunately, some Indian scholars and practitioners have misinterpreted our position as favorable to New Delhi's claim, simply because China has agreed to make Lipulekh Pass as the contact point with India since the Panchashir Agreement of 1954. The inference is most probably wrong. China has a pragmatic and a principled approach towards Kalapani dispute. Except for the boundary between Sikkim and China's Tibet being settled as per the agreement between China and Britain in 1890. Around 90% of the international border between our two countries, between China and India, is yet to be decided. So in legal sense, the tri-junction point remains uncertain before the ultimate solution is sorted out. The 1954 agreement has nothing to do with the territorial recognition, but trade and intercourse across Himalaya. It bears no legal effect or implication so far on whether Kalapani-Lipulekh-Limpiadhura or Lipulekh belongs to Nepal or India. I would like to make a comparison between the linkage across Lipulekh and Karakoram Highway. The existence of Karakoram Highway does not mean that China takes sides on the Kashmir issue or the dispute. This is similar to the position that China has on Kalapani dispute. We accepted a protest Nepal made relating to Kalapani in the past, and recognized that there is a dispute between Nepal and India on this account. Talking about the way forward, my personal view is that escalation of this dispute does not help either party. It's not interests for either party. We appreciated the courage of Prime Minister Gujral in acknowledging the dispute and pushing for solutions since 1997. However, it makes people feel sad and depressed because after so many years, we are still repeating what has been thoroughly deliberated. And it only makes the atmosphere worse and unconducive to kick the problem down the road, hoping someday it will disappear. It will not. India, as the dominant power in the subcontinent, I think is obliged to address the issue in a more proactive manner. And to look at it in a broader context, I think India needs to re-examine the special relations with Nepal and adapt its posture by giving new framework and meaning to its neighborhood policy. If India upholds strategic autonomy as the foundation of its foreign policy, I think states like Nepal also deserves the privilege to balance between great powers. Taking this into consideration, New Delhi needs to use more equality, restraint, respect, objectivity, and sensitivity so as to nurture amicable but different special relations with Nepal. And the Kalapani dispute appears to be a deadlock since the Joint Committee could not get things done after so many years of discussion and consultation. However, key to the issue is really not technical, it's political. It requires political decisions from both New Delhi and Kathmandu to diffuse the rising tension and put back on track the pursuit for solution. The ball now is in India's court. I think it does not help at all to play with nationalism, rhetoric, and a blame game, blockade, or regime change, things like that. Kalapani dispute will not cease to haunt the bilateral relations until it is resolved for good. It is wisdom and compromise that both parties could use to bridge the gap. And don't force Nepal to go international forum to seek justice, because it will make things more complicated. And India should not ignore Nepal's request indefinitely, or it will backfire someday. So last thing, just as a gentle reminder, don't forget to take China on board when you two countries are about to decide the tri-junction point, because I think China is also a stakeholder in this decision. So I will stop there, and probably I will get back to comments some of the remarks by other scholars. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huang, for your very comprehensive and timely remarks on the issue. Certainly, we will get back to you on the question and answer session. And now, at last but not the least, I will now, I may request to Dr. Associate Professor, Dr. Krishna K. Shrestha, for his presentation on the issue. Dr. Shrestha, are you listening? Are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Yubaraj. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm here at 8:15 in the evening. Everybody, hope you are well in this very difficult time. And thank you for inviting me in this very important discussion with a lot of participants. It's good to be here. So, NIIR, Nepal Institute of International Relations, thank you. This is my pleasure to be here. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge that discussing about current Nepal and India diplomatic deadlock in the time of COVID-19, it is such an unfortunate timing. So, but while timing is not right, but maybe the timing is never right for discussing about any disputes like this. But I think this dispute, this debate has to have us. We have to have this debate to move beyond with the historical stalemate that we have been having here. So I just like to acknowledge all the presenters, Mr. Prakash, Dr. Bhatta, Mr. Gurung, Dr. Nayak, and Professor Huang. I think a lot of, there has been a lot of evidences. So there has been a lot of argumentations and counter argumentations. There has been a lot of emotions, egos, all those things have been there. So there has been a lot of mapping of maps and a lot of argumentation on cartographic aggression and others. So there are calls for dialogues and all those things. So I want to take you a little bit back, and then I want to invite you to think a little more broadly about why is the Nepal-India relations not improving as desired, or even worsening at this current point? I think we have evidences, we have history, we have shared language and cultures and a lot of things there, but our relations seems to be day by day, worsening rather than improving. I think this is a time for a critical reflection among us. So that is the first point that I like to start off with. Can you see my, Yubaraj, can you see my slides, by the way?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's pretty clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the second point, perhaps the more ideas that I would like to throw in is how to explain the border dispute. Why this border dispute such a stalemate for over time, over so many years, hundreds of years, if not more. And why now? I mean, there are a lot of arguments and counter argumentations, right? And then there are a lot of evidences, historical facts and others. What are the key dilemmas that we scholars inclusive, the government of Nepal, India, perhaps many stakeholders like media and even the people, individual people like you and me are facing? What are the dilemmas that we have and what are the key ideas moving forward? So I will try to wrap up very quickly. I know the time is not there for discussing in details. So first of all, let me invite you to think about Nepal-India border issues. Of course, I think a lot of people tend to focus on, all right, this is the historical, this is the headwaters, this is the area in Kuti, this is the area here, this is what I have said, this is what that person has said. What is the border? How it is defined? Who defined it? How it has come about over time? That is really important for us when we are trying to make an argumentations on it. So then, well, what is the history in international practice on it? I think, I mean, we have come through the sort of, historically suppressed colonial, neo-colonial subversion in the South Asian continent. So what are the historical facets that we have gone through? How they are shaping our ideals and argumentations now? And then what is science? And people often, Dr. Bhatta talk about hydrologists and others, and this is the quite brutal fact. A lot of technical knowledge holders, even today, they define the type of policies people make, including the border disputes. And what about the science people have, the civic science, the voices of the people who are living there? We tend to actually discard them, and this makes the dispute or no dispute between the countries, right? And then obviously there are winners and losers. There are the hegemony and freedom, the capability of people, the power holders, the present versus the future, recognition rights, a lot of scholarly and theoretical and practical questions that can be raised. So the border, the point being, the border of, the issue of Nepal-India border is very complex. And it actually resonates with a lot of other social, cultural, and economic issues that actually embed within it. So the point here is we really need to think about these issues very carefully and critically. And historically grounded analysis is really important about the holistic picture of evolving Nepal-India border issues within that relationship is really important. I think this hasn't been that carefully crafted in the media and even the scholarly ideas in the late, for the last 30, 40 years that I have actually looked at. So that's the first point. Then the second point here is the why border stalemate for so long. I mean, my colleagues have outlined a lot of evidences, a lot of physical and historical evidences, the argumentation Professor Huang put forward, and then the argument that Nayak made. They're very important arguments. Of course, the point here is the border stalemate that is going on, and under Professor Huang actually amplified, which is really, really interesting. Why so long for a problem that has been sitting there? It's not going to go anywhere. To understand this, I think it's really important to go back to the history and historical trajectory that Nepal-India relation, perhaps the continental relations, is unfolding and unpacking. The first one here is really important, the colonial practices. And that has implanted historical injustice, not only in Nepal, but also in India, in Indian territory. I think really that is also really impenetrating a lot of Indian foreign policies and policies around in other sectors. I think that is defining a lot of policies that is not necessarily only counterproductive for the neighborhood first relation that is infected, but also a lot of other policies for India as well. So I take Dr. Nayak's point about the language that is amplifying, that is not helpful, often sometimes even insulting, and not really good atmosphere for dialogue. I agree. But when there is a hegemonic and neo-colonial practices that is in practice, then you're going to have to talk about it. You're going to have to unpack it. Nepal or any countries around the world is not the country or the society even 10 years ago. It has been completely changed rather very rapidly, like countries in Nepal. So very vibrant, a lot of access to information. It's a lot of people talking about it around the world today. So it's not just Nepal and Nepalis within the diaspora, Nepali diaspora and others, Indian diaspora and others I work with. I work with so many Indian colleagues here, all talk about it. It penetrates, and that's element of hegemonic way of talking with or talking down to neighbors has never disappears. And that is really important to think about the border issues right now. Then the third point that I really like to very quickly touch upon is the unaccountable leadership. It is not just the leadership of the government of Nepal, but also the leadership of government of India, but also the leadership of government of Nepal. And it's not just the political leaders. I think when I'm talking about unaccountable leadership, it is about the civic society, it's the academic leadership, including ourselves. I think that in Nepal-India relation has been taken for granted for many years. Sometimes talking about, special relationship, Roji Beti, whatever it is. I mean, all those amplifying relationship hasn't been really, sort of materialized into the practice of accountability to people living in those Kalapani areas, people living in the border areas, how this type of stalemate actually affecting them and their life and livelihood has been really, really, really traumatic. And this is the ongoing problem that I can see today as well. The other point is about technocentric knowledge. I think Dr. Bhatta highlighted quite nicely about the hydrographer, geologist, sometimes physical geographers, and even today. These are the people who have looked at, all right, this is the boundary, that side is yours, that side is mine, without really looking at, well, how it has been used, how it has been utilized locally, what are the vibrancy of local access and utilization, the politics of the micropolitics and all those things. So all these technocentric knowledge still dominates. And sometimes this technocentric knowledge is even ignored, and that has become problematic to date. The other point is about, I think a number of colleagues have highlighted about eroding trust. I find it one of the fundamentals. That is why the Nepal-India relation, including the dispute, this is really, really in the forefront at the moment. I think from people to people level, from the government to government level, it has been the very tense and sort of up and down relationship over time. So Nepal government perhaps pretending to be very nice to India, Indian government pretending to be very nice to Nepal, only the level where things are really in the suppression and suppressed conditions. So there has been eroding trust between the country and between the people for some time. And it is one of the examples when it has come to the fore. So it has come to the fore because there is a heightened awareness. People are more educated. Information flow is more often. So people are no longer the same. Society is no longer the same. Professor Huang also implied. So things are not the same. People don't accept what has been happening, whether land has been used or unused. If someone is capturing it, and you have always the right to call your land your own. So it's about not accepting or not using it over time. It is about people being more aware. I mean, people are talking about, oh, there is a call for China, and then unfortunate comments are made by some of the responsible and very, very professional people, used to be professional people in India. I have looked at. It's not about whether there is China or there is Britain or United Nations. I mean, Nepal can call upon anyone it likes when it requires to safeguard its self-interest. I think it's really important that it is a time of unprecedented information flow. It is a time for demanding rights and authority of its area and of its affairs. So it's really, the question is really misplaced, whether there is a China factor. I think Nepal should utilize any factors that to protect its interest. That is the era we have entered into. And that links with changing geopolitics. I mean, we live in a globalized world. We don't live in a, you walk three days to get into a borderland. The political economy it's Nepal is not just not the neighbor of India. It is a neighbor of Australia. It's neighbor of America. You can fly to Sydney in 10 hours from Nepal. It might take more than 10 hours to go to Calcutta. This world has changed, and I don't think this sort of change environment has been realized enough by the Indian leadership.
Dr. Shrestha, sorry to interrupt, but you have only 2 minutes left.
All right. Okay. So basically, why stalemate happened? Because this type of decisions might create havoc, create winners and losers. So perhaps continuing the uncertainty is better than losing it. So as humans, no one wants to make decisions in a hurry. It has the element of human impulse not to take the decisions over time. So there are a lot of dilemmas. I really don't want to go into there because of the time. Whose land it is, whose knowledge counts, can Nepal and India do it? or is there a role of Britain or UN or China to play? I think it's a lot of things there are which are really, really critical to contemplate over time. What I really want to sort of spend a couple of minutes is, look, there's a call for productive dialogue and positive diplomacy. I think everyone is talking about dialogue, but what form of dialogue? Is there very low trust, high emotions, the knowledge hegemony is there, a lack of representation, all those. I think we are talking about dialogue, I agree, but what is the nature and conduct of dialogue? I think that's really, really important. In that, what could be the way forward here? I think the evidence-based deliberation, it's not just the conventional dialogue. I don't believe that will work, given the power imbalance between Nepal and India, and then there is still that sort of hegemonic mentality that sits very deep. So evidence-based deliberation, that has a lot of preparation going into it. There are critical platform for politics of knowledge. Local voices are being really recognized. There are fresh evidence being produced, and then evidence are accepted by both parties. And then there are critical strategic champions, agents for change. I think who can be a champion? That is itself a question. And then a lot of our colleagues have also highlighted there needs to be a conviction based on respect, equality, trust, reciprocity, a lot of this, and the responsibility. If we had this type of evidence-based deliberation that is characterized by the critical politics of knowledge, there is a strategic champions and conviction to do things better, it can be solved through dialogue. I would stop there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Shrestha, for your comprehensive ideas that you just shared with us. Definitely, we will come back to you with some queries. And now we just finished the... please mute your microphones, who is speaking over. Admin, please mute whoever wants to speak. They will unmute themselves. So now we just finished the speakers' deliberations, and now on we will move for the quick question and answer session. And till now, as we have messaged on the public group here in this webinar session, I guess only 5 among the participants have registered their names to pose some questions. If I'm right, and if this is final, I guess this will be a very good number for us to handle in the time. So, Mr. Hari Prasad Chand, SBS, I don't know the full name. Who is this place? SBS.
I'm Subarna Babu Sapkota.
Oh, Subarna Babu. Oh, yes. Subarna ji, you're welcome. And Nanda Thapa, Nanda Kumar Thapa, Mitra Bandhu Paudel, and Mohan Krishna Shrestha, if I did it correctly. These only 5 among the participants will represent all the participants for raising the questions. So firstly, I would like to, I guess, to collect all the questions and then deliver the answers will good. All right, Dr. Bhatta, will it work? To collect all the questions first and then answer from the relative people, maybe good. I'm not hearing, Dr. Bhatta. Maybe you are speaking, but your microphone is muted.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was talking brief. I need to leave by 4:30, so I have 10 minutes to respond in between. So can you give me the first? I mean, sorry, to ask directly that.
All right.
Give me the time.
All right. So I guess within 1 to 2 minutes, we will collect all the questions.
Sure.
And then after we will distribute, okay, whoever are going to answer the question. So please, Hari Prasad Chand, you please just straightforward to your question. Just don't, expand your points, please. Hari Prasad Chand.
Okay, sir, thank you very much for giving. Yes, sir, I'm here, and I'm asking questions. Thank you very much for giving me this chance. And my question is to Dr. Nihar Nayak, and next question is to Professor Huang. The first question is that why India inaugurated the road on 8 May 2020, despite having well-known fact that the territory was assumed as itself disputed from Indian side, though from Nepalese side it is entirely claimed that the territory is ours based on clear historical facts. And my next question to Chinese Professor Huang is that, is there any possibility to get back from 2015 agreement from the Chinese side, as many historical facts have proven that the territory is entirely belonging to Nepal? These are two questions, sir, from my side.
Oh, thank you, Ariji. Now, Subarnaji, if you are listening me, please directly pose a question.
Many thanks, Yubaraj Chaulagain. My first question goes to Dr. Bhatta, and if Narayan Kaji Shrestha is also available, probably this question is also suitable for him.
No, he is not here. He has already left.
Okay, anyways.
So you just concentrate to Dr. Bhatta.
Yeah, the first question is, what is the reason that Indian side is not accepting the EPG report? And is there any, can we also see the factor that the India is continuously making the micromanagement in our political system? Is there is also influence of this micromanagement in this current dispute?
Thank you, Subarnaji. Now I call upon Mr. Nandakumar Thapa, sir, to pose your question. To whom your question is?
But I have some other questions to other scholars.
Oh, Subarnaji, yeah, please. Okay.
So the second question goes to
Nanda
Dr.
Nanda
Nayak.
sir, please wait a while, please.
Okay.
Subarnaji is continuing. Yeah. Please go.
The second question goes to Dr. Nayak. Many thanks, Dr. Nayak, for such a nice overview. Before having your lecture today, I had a chance to go through your recent publication, which was done in IDS. This reads India-Nepal border dispute from history to the mystery. And today, you appear to be being very sensitive towards the words which are being currently used in both sides, in academic side or in media or in diplomatic sides. So I assume that you are expecting a good faith during this dialogue, but looking into your literature, what you have published, like in last week of May, if I'm correct, there you have clearly stated that there is a heavy and very strong anti-Indian sentiment in Nepal, and you have listed that historically it goes to the back to Prithvinarayan Saha and until now to the current government. And you have also mentioned that the current Nepali government is running in an authoritarian style. Do you agree with this, taking the Narendra Modi government being in India? So in this literature, you have also mentioned about Prithvinarayan Saha, current government, Chinese military delegation with whom Nepal has asked the support. And you have also mentioned Tarai movement and Twitter handles being, Twitter hashtag being handled from third country. So in this, taking all these things into consideration, my first question to Dr. Nayak is, why there is a strong anti-Pakistani sentiment in Afghanistan? Can you please elaborate? Having a same culture, same religion, having a so long border sharing, and why there is similar
I guess we have to concentrate on the topic. Yeah. Please concentrate on the topic because we are talking about the Nepal-India relations. So
yes,
thank you,
exactly.
Subarnaji.
And the third question and the second question to Dr. Nayak is,
please summarize your question.
Having 639 billion yuan trade with China, why India thinks that Nepal cannot have a good relation with Chinese side? What makes you to think that you have such a huge trade with China, but you are so much afraid that if Nepal is having a good faith with China, what makes you to think this?
Thank you. Thank you.
Third question goes to Professor Yunsong.
So how many questions do you have, Subhadji?
The last question.
Oh, all right, please.
So he mentioned that Nepal should not, or both the Nepal and India should not forget to take China on board when we are talking about the trilateral point. So do you think, Professor Yunsong, if Nepal presents valid evidences, is China ready to reconsider the MOU that it has signed with India in presence of Chinese Prime Minister in 2015? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shobhanaji. Please be straight on the question. Don't just go behind the points. So, Nanda sir, Nanda Kumar Thapa.
Yes,
please.
yes. Now, Professor Doctor, I would like to thank him with my heart respect, because his presentation was very nice and it was evidence oriented also. My question is, Nepal has been trying to raise...
Nanda sir, are you asking the question to Professor Huang?
Yeah, no, Niharika first.
Nihar Nayak. All right.
Yes. So there are many requests from Nepal, joint commissions effort, formation of the Indian-Nepal Boundary Working Group, BWG and EPC. And recently, Nepal has requested the Indian government for now dialogue. But unfortunately, India has published his new map of India. And if it happens so, Nepal also published another way in their own way. Now the question is there, when we request dialogue, then from Indian side, we found two smells. One is saying elderly brother and roti beti, bread and daughter relations. Now, again, they say that if dialogue would be fruitful, then they would sit together. And at the same time, Sud, former ambassador, he also gave a statement. Now, just putting his idea as an elder brother and his small brother, having no respect of two nations. So what is going on over here? When we talk about the reality, are we to be dominated? So Dr. Niharika, what would you think about this?
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Please, another one. For Huang from China. Okay, two agreements between India and China. One is traded commodities and expand border trade for a strategic importance. They just sat together and made one agreement on May 15. Now, another one is India has now constructed one Yatra road from Indian land through Nepal's land and to China land. In this situation now, the road goes to China, but I think that because of the now benefit of the Indian government and Chinese government, they didn't consult Nepali government whose land had been used for this construction of road. There is a very serious debate in Nepal. If China had been dragged by India, is China lured for their China and India now interest? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, quickly, I will call upon Dr. Mitra Bandhu Paudel to raise a straight question, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes. In May 2015, during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to China, two countries...
To whom are you posing the question, please?
I'm asking to Dr. Bhatta.
All right.
Okay. So during Indian Prime Minister Modi's visit to China, two countries agreed to expand border trade to Lipulekh, that is totally bypassing Nepali stand. The issue continues to emerge in Nepal, and now the situation is in front of us. Some analysts assert that China also has to be invited as a facilitator, perceiving as a trilateral issue. What is your view on it?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Mitra
Yubaraj,
Bandhu.
I think I will go to respond two queries regarding me.
Oh, so there is only one person left. So may I continue this to collect the questions first?
No, I think I have to leave. I have to leave.
All right.
To participate in another program. So I think many questions regarding the other presenters or the commentators, they have left already. So the participants have asked two questions to me. So I think whether I will respond them and then we can conclude the session. And first of all, I would like to thank you NIIR team because you have intervened in such a prominent issue, very pertinent issue. And in this juncture, we need to keep discussing and enlightening people and sharing the ideas from the different walks of the different sectors. And that is important. And sometime with the scholars or the international leaders, experts or other people from other countries also. So the first question regarding my presentation, one is like why India is not accepting the EPG report. My understanding that Nepal has put forward all the issue, and it is not only the Nepal side has written the report. It is a joint report and the agreed report by the team members from India. So there is some sense that they are indulged in their internal politics. So it is looming. It is, I mean, the Delhi is delaying. It's because that Nepal is not in their priority, one. The second, the things written in the report are not in favor of the people in Delhi, I mean, in the power. So that might be the reason. And on the other side, as Mitra was asking about the 2015 May 15 agreement between, or the joint communique of India and China, Indian Prime Minister's visit to China, it is very clear that they were talking about the Lipulekh, that should be a trade route and facilitate the pilgrimages. But the land is engrossed by India, and land is, the road is constructed by India. So first of all, we have to settle, we have to start dialogue and negotiation with India. It's because that we have seen that, and as I mentioned earlier, since 1973, the then elected representative during Panchayat era from that place, Bahadur Singh Adwal, has raised the issue. And since then, after 1990, Prem Singh Dhami has raised this issue. Bir Bahadur Thagurna, the present MP from the Darchula, Ganesh Singh Thagurna, Dwilendra Badu, all they had been raising that question, and several others. And it is now national agenda. And the national position is, Nepal's position is clear. So first we should pursue with India. And then, of course, for the tri-junction point, if China shows or raise any question, because in Nepal-China side border issue, when it was resolved to some extent, resolved largely, the demarcation was started from Thinker, and the reference pillar, the pillar number was given to the point, that point is 1. It is not a 0. So, but the international boundary system, when pillar number 0 is given, that is the starting point. So it is still have a place to negotiate with China, but from my perspective, China should realize that it has done mistake, was that without consulting with Nepal, and Nepal has sent the protester note that Lipulekh is Nepal's territory, so they should realize that they have mistakenly agreed to do business or the trade and the pilgrimage route from that point. So from that angle, we can discuss with them also, and we can ask, we can request to them. And as far as the one point regarding the Dr. Nihar's presentation, that boundary working group should restart working. That is my understanding regarding the strip maps in some places are disturbing the people's demarcation and the border management. That is happening in the Kanchanpur, Punarbas area, Belori area, and similarly in the other parts of the Nepal-India border. So for that reason, I was raising the boundary working group should reopen. And of course, but that is settled. The settled is one way to deal with the issue. But settled, but people and the citizens living on the both sides are not agreed means there is something to discuss about. So that was the point. So with this, I will thank organizers and all the participants and those who have raised questions and comments regarding my presentation, and hope we'll keep continuing talking in the different forums like this.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatta, for your response to the questions. And we thank you very much for your invaluable time with a very nice presentation. Despite having some technical problems from our side, we apologize and thank you very much. If you are in hurry, you can leave now. Thank you. So now I guess we have to stop taking the questions. We are very sorry because the time is already run out, as we were planning to. We have already publicly announced that we will end up the session by 4:30 local time, but it's already 4:40. So now I request Dr. Nihar Nayak to respond the question, please.
Thank you, Yubaraj. There are three questions to me. First is by Mr. Hari Prasad Chand. He has a question about the inauguration of that Lipulekh Road. Hariji, you see, one thing is here, Government of India till that day, on May 8, was under impression that we have two disputed territories with Nepal. One is Kalapani and Shrestha. As I mentioned in my presentation, that since 1981, except in 1915, all those times, all the official agreements or press releases, Government of Nepal has mentioned about Kalapani and Shrestha. Even after issuing a press release on Lipulekh, again Nepal government has come back to Kalapani. So that is the reason perhaps Government of India might have thought that this Limpiadhura and Kalapani not disputed territory, number one. Number two, the border demarcation, Government of India is understanding that it is based on the 1879 map. And again, there are so many evidences that 1961, your agreement with China, then 1996 Mahakali Treaty, then 1981 Border Technical Committee, so many evidence that the Government of India came under impression that this is not a disputed territory. India, so that is the reason, your answer to your questions. Regarding the second question about Mr. Subarnaji, look, although your question is some extent not related to our current discussion, it was Pakistan, Afghanistan. I don't have any expertise on that. I can't say that. But whatever I've written in my article, you refer that is based on evidences and all sources are cited. If you'll see, all sources are given. I have not written any speculative. All sources, even whether it's a discussion with China delegation, military delegation, whether PN Saha's statement. You see that I can add footnote here. Please refer the Dibya Upanishad, the page number 42, what he says about India, for your kind information. So I have mentioned or given all the sources, so kindly may refer while going through my text. Coming that your second question, why can't Nepal have a relationship with China while Government of India has 80 billion trade relationship with China? I said certainly, definitely China should have a relationship with China, and it's a sovereign country. There should be bilateral trade, booming bilateral trade between China and Nepal. I wish for that. But my counter question to you, have you ever seen our government officials making any statement, like our any spokesperson or any government officials have directly or indirectly has made any reference that Nepal should not have any relationship with China? No.
only you can see that media reports, and media reports, you know, as India, it's a free media like Nepal free media, so they can make any comments. So it can't, government of India can't have, don't have control over them. So you shouldn't take that media publications as a government of India's line. When if the MEA is making a statement, kindly discuss on that and bring to your notice, then I'll just pass that information to people here. Coming to that last question, that India published his map, roti beti words, all those things, elderly relationship is asked by Mr. Nanda Thapaji. My view is that definitely, and you referred about Ambassador Rakesh Sood. I know Rakesh Sood, when he made this statement, he's now retired government officer. So he's no more an active MEA official. So his view can be considered as any public view. Regarding the reti beti, all those phrases and adjectives are used. If that feel that, I think it's not used again at the government level. If you go to government press releases, government joint statements, all this, I never find these kind of words like elder brother, younger brother, roti beti relationship. These are the adjectives are used by public. They use for their advantages. But I don't think government of India officially has made any statement on this again. Thank you very much, Yubaraj.
Thank you, Dr. Nihar. Now, I would like to call to respond the questions to Dr. Huang. Dr. Huang? Please.
Yes. Yes. There are 3 questions for me. I think 2 of them are mainly focused on the 2015 Joint Declaration on expanding trade and...
the quicker, the better, Dr. Huang.
Yes. And I think I will present an answer, all in one to specify my views on it. Firstly, I don't think there is a possibility for Chinese government to retract the joint declaration that we made in 2015. And secondly, I think there's no necessity to do that, because this joint declaration is a decision based on the status quo since 1947 or 1954. And it in no sense means that Chinese government is taking sides with India, saying this part of the territory belongs to India. And thirdly is that Chinese government has already recognized that there is a dispute between Nepal and India on this particular piece of territory. And if there's any possibility for us to further expand, this trade and yatra relations with India, we would be more precautious next time if we do similar decision like that. And please rest assured, and Chinese government is not taking position on the dispute, and we are also not interested to mediate between Nepal and India. But when it comes to the tri-junction point, I think it is in the interest of China to make sure that the tri-junction point is not in violation of our understanding of the international border. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Huang. Very, very short and quick response to all the questions. And now I think we are on the very conclusion of the webinar today. We apologize that we could not provide the chances to all the participants, or many of the participants who wanted to raise their questions to our distinguished guests and speakers. Due to the time constraints, we are bound with that. So we have now this is a very time to thanks those all who contributed to make possible this event, to happen this event. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Matrika Paudel to deliver the vote of thanks to all the concerns people, especially the speakers and especially the participants who are listening our webinar here. I thank all you, especially those who are not involved directly in the Zoom room, but who are listening us through the media outside. This is live in the Facebook and live in one another online media. Maybe many Facebook pages are sharing this event live. So we thank them all. And Mr. Matrika Paudel, the Joint Secretary of our organization, Nepal Institute of International Relations, will deliver the vote of thanks. Matrika ji, please. Matrika Paudel, are you here? Matrika ji?
Okay, actually, I lost the connection. Thank you, Raji.
Please.
Respected Chair, Honorable Narayan Kaji, these scholars from China and speakers and distinguished scholars participating, ladies and gentlemen. NIIR has requested you for a session, and we are time and paid heed to our request, and many thanks to everyone. I am also
Matrika ji, you are lost.
Your and your effort for this cause. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matrika ji. Now, at the last of this session, although I also wanted to ask some questions, but I did not get such a chance today, especially to Dr. Nihar and to Dr. Huang. I just tried to make a smooth relation to participants and the speakers, but I guess I don't know whatever could I do during this session. Although I found this very, very fantastic, very, very good, very august. So I thank you all, the speakers, especially the inaugural speaker, Dr. Narayan Kaji Shrestha, our friends from Sichuan University, Professor Dr. Huang, from India, IDSIA, Dr. Nihar Nayak, our dear friend Krishna Kumar Shrestha from University of New South Wales, and our friend from Tribhuvan University, Department of Geography, Mr. Sher Bahadur Gurung. We thank you all for your invaluable times. You have spreaded a lot of ideas in a very short and very short duration of time. We thank you all, and thank you all the participants, especially we are here from 12 different countries, if I know correctly. We thank you all. Some media persons are also here. Some ex-diplomats are also here taking part. Some students and some political leaders, some member of parliaments, both from upper house, lower house, and central parliament and federal parliament as well. And I know some representatives of the people from several levels are also here taking part. Many of my friends and those who are interested in this topic are here. You all contributed today. Without you all, this could not be possible. So thank you all. Especially, I thank to Dr. Bisal Paudel, who managed voluntarily to the technical assistance of to coordinate technically of this event. Now on, I thank you all please forgive me if I did any mistakes, and I will be with you all for the coming events of the NIIR as well and other functions too. So now on, I request Dr. Rishi Raj Adhikari, the chairperson of Nepal Institute of International Relations, to deliver his concluding remarks and to conclude this event. Dr. Rishi Adhikari.
Unmute.
Adhikari, we are not getting you.
Perhaps the speaker is not mute.
We are not listening you. Mr. Chairperson.
Actually, it's not working, Yubaraj.
So I guess Dr. Rishi is losing his connection. Dr. Adhikari?
Yeah.
So with his contest, as a deputy chairperson of this institution, Nepal Institute of International Relations, I would like to thank you all, and this session ends here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yubaraj.
Thank you. Namaskar.
All right. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Vishalji, please finish the meeting.
Okay. Thank you all.